Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So today is Thursday, which means it's Booklist Thursday. Something to do with Sarah over at Sarah's Nightstand. We come to you every Thursday with some sort of book, thoughts, ideas, recommendations, something bookish related. So first I want to say I'm back in front of my bookshelves. The kitchen project is coming along nicely. It's not quite done yet, but we're making progress. We no longer eat in the library or in whatever we want to call this room. So yeah, we're making progress. I will show it to you eventually. We'll get there. But today for Booklist Thursday, we thought, this idea came up from, I guess me. My neighbor 2 houses down is selling their house. And so we were talking about how, you always want to make sure you have good neighbors. It's vital, very important. So we're like, okay, well, what books or what bookish characters would we want to be neighbors with? So that's our theme today. So who would we want as our neighbor? Won't you be my neighbor? Right, Skylar? She doesn't care. She would like probably some dogs. I don't know. All right, so here's what I would pick. First of all, I'm going to go with Malibu Rising. Would love to live in Malibu. Love to live next to Nina. She hosts pretty epic parties every year. It sounds like, we would live right on the coast, right by the water, be fantastic houses, and have a lot of fun. And I could totally jump on board with that. Probably be some good people watching from being my neighbor. Not that I'm like a creepy neighbor that would stare, but there'd be some good people watching. So I'm thinking living in Malibu would be fantastic. So that's where this one takes place. This actually takes place during the 80s. And Nina Riva is living in her house in Malibu. She has 3 siblings, and it kind of goes through their life growing up, their relationships with each other. They all have a whole bunch of baggage, and there's some drama. So there's like this party of the year happening, and a bunch of stuff kind of all comes down in that one fateful night. So it was really good. I enjoyed it. Not my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book, but I still enjoyed it. Lots of good 80s vibes in there. I don't have my table in here yet. Let's see. Another one to be a neighbor of, again, would be just like, there'd be some action going on. There'd be some camaraderie, I think. I think we could have some fun. So living next to Finley Donovan, and Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Casimino. So she is an author, and she writes mystery thriller books. So she's meeting her editor or her agent, one of them, for lunch one day and explaining kind of the concept for her next book. And the person at the table next to her thinks she is a murder for hire type of a thing, and basically says, I'll give you some money if you get rid of this dude. And Finley is in a really interesting situation where she could really use the money. So she kind of decides to take it. So I think living next to her would be quite interesting. Plus she's kind of finds herself in these very interesting situations. She's funny, relatable. I think she'd make a great neighbor. It would be cool. Next one, the next 2 is strictly because of the personalities of the characters. So first of all, Class Mom by Lori Gelman. I would love to live next to Jen Dixon. I feel like our kids would probably be in the same class. They would be hilarious. Plus her son's name is Max, right? Yeah. And I have a Max. It just works. But I love how she approaches life. It is what it is. She's not gonna play any sort of game or take anything too seriously. Max is her youngest son. She has 2 college-age daughters already kind of up and out of the house. So this is not her first rodeo. And she gets asked to be the class mom for Max's class in kindergarten. And she takes it with a grain of salt and kind of calls people out on the stupid stuff. And it's hilarious. It's so fantastic. I would love to live next to Jen Dixon. I feel like her and I could have some good driveway drinks together. It would make a good team. So that's my other recommendation. She's also hilarious. Speaking of hilarious, would it not be super fun to live next to Trevor Noah? This is his memoir, Born a Crime, and how he talks about growing up in South Africa during the apartheid. But he's super funny. This book was fantastic. I feel like he has lived so many different lives and been able to really, I mean, he was put in some really not so great situations and ended up just kind of not holding grudges. He just kind of goes on with life, and he's funny. Do we watch The Daily Show all the time? No. So whatever. I just think he'd be blessed to live next to you and just kind of learn from, because he's really been around. I mean, he was born basically a crime. His, let's see, his father was white and his mother was black. Their union is punishable in South Africa with prison. So it really follows his childhood growing up. There are some hilarious situations he's put in. There are some times he just explains it so well, and just what his father taught him, what his mother taught him, and how he looks out on life. So it's really, really great. He would be fun to live next to. And then the last one I want to talk about, I technically haven't read the book, but I already know I'd want to be neighbors. This is The Lines of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis, which I want to get to because I'm loving Fiona Davis's work. And this follows Laura, and her husband is the superintendent of the New York Public Library, which means they get to live in the apartment in the library. So if I was her neighbor, doesn't it mean I would also live in an apartment in the New York Public Library? In my mind, it does. And I feel like that would be amazing. That would be amazing. I would love to live there. So this just kind of follows her story as it takes place in 1913 and then 1993, because Fiona Davis always writes books, dual timelines, 100 years apart. And it follows Laura, I think, as she kind of gets into the women's suffrage movement and explores that. So super excited to read this book. It is seriously like on my next up shelf over there because I cannot wait to pick this one up. So I'll let you know what it is, but I mean, I'm already wanting to move into the New York Public Library. So if somebody knows how to make that happen, that'd be fantastic. Anyways, those are some neighbors I would love to have or love to live next to. I think it would be super fun. It's always, I mean, you can't always pick your neighbors, but hopefully everybody has a good one. Head over to Sarah's channel and see what she has to say for today. And if you could pick any fictional characters to live next to you, leave a comment below and let's chat about it. I think it's kind of a fun concept to think about. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.